A county league side gets all out in just 2 runs. Quite an embarrassing match. I'll give you all those details. Uske baad dekhenge. Chris Lynn has recalled his IPL 2018 IPL auction time. What has he said about that moment? I will give you all those details in today's episode. Aur sabse ant mein, is the BCCI in talks with foreign boards to convince them to get players for the second leg of the IPL? All this and much more only in today's episode of News Tracker. Hello everybody. I hope you're doing well and keeping safe, which is the most important thing right now. My name is Nivedna Prabhu, but before I begin this video, if you haven't liked, shared and subscribed to Cricket Tracker as yet, you're missing out on a lot. So hit that button quickly, and without wasting time, let's begin this video to find out what's making news in the world of cricket. Well, 2 teams were up against each other in the Huntingdonshire County League match, but it did not go down too well because when Buckton and Falcon were of course facing each other, it so happened that Falcon won over Buckton by 258 runs. That's right, this happened because the Buckton's team, none of the players could even produce a single run, and it was quite an embarrassing match. But let me give you more details about this entire episode. Now, the 2 runs that came into the team's account were due to a wide and a bye. And of course, on the other hand, the skipper of Buckton, CC Joel Krishna, said, "We only had 8 at the start, aged between 15 and 50, and Graham Pierce arrived 30 overs in because he'd been working. We had 15 players unavailable, 2 or 3 were injured, the others had family commitments." Well, that is what the skipper had to say, but this is quite an embarrassing match for sure. But hoping, of course, things get better for them when they play their next match. But can you recall any such matches for you where it was probably as embarrassing as this one? Definitely let me know in the comment section below. When you think about the Indian Premier League, you definitely think about the fact that it's one of the most celebrated tournaments, across all the other cricketing events that we have. It also has, glitz, glamour, and of course lots of money as well. Why am I saying money? Well, one thing, if you actually look about, in terms of the IPL, one thing is the IPL auction, where players are of course, sold for various prices, and franchises are of course bidding for them. But most importantly, it also goes on to change several lives of various cricketers, in terms of, also changing probably their lives overnight. But most importantly, what do cricketers really think of when they recall the first time that some franchise had bid for them? Well, Chris Lynn had something to say about a similar moment. Now, if you remember, in the 2018 IPL auction, he was sold to KKR for a staggering amount of 9.6 crore, of course INR. His base price was 2 crore. So Chris Lynn really recalled that moment and what was going through his head when all of this happened. What did Chris say? Well, I will tell you. Now, Chris said, "I remember that day clearly. I was warming up in the nets and I'm shaking. I was like, what the hell has just happened? It was literally so hard to get it out of my mind because the press is talking about it when you're warming up." Well, he was probably trying to say at the end of the day, probably he also did not expect that kind of amount. But, on the other context, tell me this, let's really talk about the fact that, certain players had a certain base price and they went for a staggering amount. Tell me, according to you, in all the IPL seasons that has happened so far, which players, kind of amount surprised you the most? I definitely want to know this, so tell me in the comment section below. We're of course amongst, a time where high-profile cricket events are being played, even if you're talking about the ongoing World Test Championship final. But before you know it, you are going to have, the IPL around the corner. And of course, we're going to be starting that countdown for the 14th edition of the IPL to finally resume after it was stopped midway due to the pandemic. Now, on one hand, of course, the BCCI did get a confirmation from Cricket West Indies about them postponing the Caribbean Premier League by 4 days to kind of accommodate the IPL, which will start on September 19, 2021. Of course, if everything goes, according to a plan, because of course, during the pandemic, a lot of things are still uncertain. However, that raises a little point about, how BCCI is planning to tackle other foreign boards as well, whether we're talking about the English Cricket Board or if you're talking about, of course, Cricket Australia, because the BCCI still has their eyes set on the fact that they're looking for foreign players to take part in the second leg of the 14th edition of the IPL. Now, I'll give you more details on that because this is of course owing to the fact that number one, there was a special general meeting that was held on May 29, thereafter which of course the BCCI took that decision about change in location, where they said that they're not going to happen, it's not going to happen in India, they're going to move it to the UAE, and after that they've been taking several decisions. But during the special general meeting, the BCCI were pondering over the thought to have discussion with the boards to make the players available from England and Australia, of course, in particular. Now, with the CWI agreeing to BCCI request, the board is confident of convincing Cricket Australia as well as the English Cricket Board to ensure foreign player participation for the remaining 31 games. Now that of course is something that we'll have to wait and watch about what their reaction is going to be in terms of both these boards, because one of course has to remember that both these countries in terms of their national calendar looks very tight, so we don't know what kind of decision the boards will be taking, but it'll be very interesting to watch how BCCI will manage to convince them. But on the other hand, I want to know from you, if players from of course England and Australia are not participating in the second leg of the IPL, what kind of an impact will, of course it will have on teams, but which team will be affected the most in the IPL? Let me know in the comment section below. Well, that's all I have for you in this edition of the News Tracker. If you like the video, give it a big thumbs up. Follow all our social media channels, including our official Telegram channel, so that you can get some amazing match-winning combos as well as fantasy tips for your fantasy teams. My name is Nivedna Prabhu. I'll be seeing you very soon. Until I see you next time, if you haven't subscribed to Cricket Tracker as yet, do that quickly. How else are we going to discuss everything in the world of cricket? I will see you very soon. Until then, stay safe and take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.